Newark have 5 shelters that are still open and active. This one is co-ed. You have men and women here. The one, they have a sister to this that only for men. There is one that not part of this organization that is for families. I have one that is for mother and child abuse. They would take them in case of emergency. Sometimes they would take in mother and children that is not abused. The shelters works well for me. You get to know the people, and they do extra favors for me, pulling the people in immediately, because these people don't have no type of income. Most of them don't have no identification card, but they would take them in, and then the next day I would bring them the information that they need. In the winter time, I can bring in about 10, 8. Normally the month of November, December, January, February, March is the busiest time when patients mostly are homeless and they need somewhere to go. And like I said, the shelters is a great place. They do wonders, especially if they're serving meals there. Some of the shelters don't serve meal. So that's why I use this one per se rather than another one that are men, because the patient have to be able to get his own meal. Here they would provide the meal for the patient, so make it easier. When you're talking about a person that coming home from the hospital, they're still weak. They're not able to get around as much, and the meal thing helps out a lot here. Fortunate, no. I don't see many relapse. Back years ago, we had quite a few of that going on. But I think over time, we have gotten better. And the program that we started now, I think because we're there observing the patient taking the medication, I think that helped break down the relapse of tuberculosis within the communities around the city where this program is working. This shelter have 5 floors. This was some type of factory. I really don't know exactly what they were doing here back in the years, but they converted it from a factory into a shelter. And they have like maybe 15 rooms on each floor. So it is huge. And 99.5% of the time in the winter time, they normally reach their capacity here. Patricia is a 46-year-old American black female. I met her about 2 months ago in University Hospital. She was admitted. Prior to that, she was living with some friends. When her friends found out that she had tuberculosis, they simply didn't want her back there. They came to the hospital and started complaining that she wasn't contributing anything to it, and she wasn't clean, and they was tired of feeding her, and with all that, bottom line, they didn't want her back. They didn't want her back because they was afraid of the tuberculosis. I went to the house where she was living. I met with the friends that was living there. Explained to them that the risk factor of the tuberculosis being sprayed was already done. She was on medication. When she came back, we would make sure that she's negative and she would still be sick, but not sick where she could spread. I tested the whole household, all the friends, and that was there. There was 6 people tested, all 6 was negative. But they still didn't want her back. So at this point, I went back to the hospital, spoke with Patricia to find out if she had a family that was willing to take her. At this time, she explained to me that she had 6 kids, but she had no contact with none of them. She had a sister in Massachusetts, a brother in Ohio that she haven't seen or spoken to in like 20, 30 years. She had an aunt who lived here in New Jersey who stopped by occasionally to see her. Unfortunately, the aunt told me that she worked. Patricia also get high. She used drugs. So you bring your family out when you're using drugs and alcohol. You bring the family out. Her aunt simply did not trust her in her house while she was at work. So with that, the aunt told me that she had just got married. The aunt is like 60, maybe 70. She just got married. She had a new husband, and her husband wasn't aware of her situation with her niece, and she didn't want to bring her in. So with that, I went back to Patricia to find out if there was anyone else that I could talk to try to get her place. With that, there wasn't no one else. I have a good relationship with this particular shelter. So I called up the management here, let them know that I needed some way for her to go because this is Friday evening, it's 4 o'clock in the evening, and I have no place for this patient to go. So they allowed me to bring her here, and the next week I did the paperwork that was necessary for she to remain here. So here she will be until she finished treatment. The good thing with the shelter, even after she finished treatment, they will allow her to continue to stay here until she get a place of her own to go.